We got the end of an odious bill in immigration that would have deprived Canadians of their citizenship illegally, but it would have had to have been fought before the courts. It was disgusting what Jason Kenney was trying to do in that bill, and I'm so proud of the 4 women standing behind me who stood up to Jason Kenney.
Wow, an odious bill that was disgusting. And he is very proud that he stopped it. What bill could Thomas Mulcair be talking about? Well, you won't believe it. He was talking about Bill C-425, a bill that would have done just one thing: stripped convicted terrorists of their Canadian citizenship if they were dual citizens of another country. That's it. He called that odious and disgusting, and he's proud to have stopped it. Well, joining us now from Ottawa to talk about this is former Ambassador James Bissett. Pleasure to have you back on the show, Ambassador. I can't believe he was using that kind of language to talk about a bill that I've got to think 95 out of 100 Canadians would say, of course I support that bill. It's not the law already. I mean, he called it odious to strip a convicted terrorist of his dual Canadian citizenship. Am I missing something here, Ambassador?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I found his remarks alarming and in some respects disturbing. That here's the leader of the opposition in Parliament, obviously emotionally upset about a bill that, as you say, 80 to 90% of the Canadians have already indicated through polling that they fully support. I mean, you know, we're talking here about a citizen who holds Canadian citizenship and citizenship in another country who has committed terrorist acts against his fellow citizens. And all we're going to do really is revoke his citizenship. Many times this person is living abroad anyway. You know, there are from 2.8 to 3 million dual citizens living outside of Canada. And some of these acts will be committed, if they are going to be, probably by those kinds of people. So you know, it's a fairly mild punishment, in my view, for someone who is prepared to blow up his fellow citizens.
Yeah, I mean,
I see nothing odious about it, and I think his language is extreme. I thought myself there must be a further reason for this, an underlying reason, and I suspect it might have something to do with the fact that I understand Thomas Mulcair is in fact a dual citizen himself, so he may be emotionally attached to defeating this bill.
Yeah, I mean, there's no law saying Thomas Mulcair must renounce his French citizenship to become our prime minister. It's just the politically smart thing to do. I mean, why would he be loyal to another country? But obviously this law would not apply to him. He's not a convicted terrorist, of course. Here, let me roll a quick clip of Ginny Sims, who is a whippersnapper in the NDP, who was sort of their point person opposing this bill. Here's some of her explanations. Roll it.
Mr. Shorey's bill, C-425. I, as the critic, was the first one up to speak to this bill, and we supported this bill. We supported it in principle, and we were prepared to go to committee and take amendments there and to work with Mr. Shorey's bill as a private member's bill.
Okay, she's not quite the whippersnapper I thought she was in my mind. I'm guessing I'm mixing her up with another NDPer. But I'm not sure if it's accurate to say that she would have supported this, because we just heard Thomas Mulcair say he thought the bill was odious and disgusting. I find it hard to believe that Ginny Sims would have supported an odious and disgusting bill if it was a private member's bill as opposed to a government bill.
I don't think she would have, and I think she was very sincere with what she said. Her objection was that this was a private member's bill, and she thought that the Minister, Kenney, was kind of muscling in on it. And that is what she was objecting to. Yeah. Otherwise, clearly, she would support the bill as most Canadians would.
Well, that's the NDP. I think she was against it. Here, let's roll Jason Kenney's comments in response.
What his bill proposes to do is to bring us back effectively to where our law was prior to 1977 and to what is the international standard that allows for the revocation of citizenship from convicted terrorists and traitors. Most other countries, their criteria are much broader. This would all be, of course, be governed by the rule of law.
I mean, Ambassador, let me ask you this. I mean, you've worked on the legal side, on the diplomatic side, so you're more a policy guy than a partisan. But help me figure it out. I mean, I'm trying to get into the head of the NDP who would oppose this. Like, what's the percentage there? Where's the angle? Are they trying? I mean, the pro-terrorist vote in Canada has got to be really small. Is there something Am I missing a reason to call this bill odious? I mean, it only applies to convicted terrorists, not even to accused terrorists. It only applies to those who are dual citizens of Canada already. We're not making anyone stateless. These people have another citizenship already. I honestly, genuinely cannot understand why you would call it odious. And Ginny Sims talk about, well, it was a private member's bill instead of a government bill. That's just inside bafflegab that I don't think anyone in the country cares about.
No.
Is there a school of thought who thinks this is wrong? Like, I just don't know what that school of thought is.
Well, I can't figure it out either. Look, every country in the European community, with the exception of Portugal, has passed laws after 9/11, which gives them the power to revoke the citizenship of a dual national who has committed an act of terror or a treasonable act. All of them have done that automatically. In England, for example, the Home Secretary has the power on his own, without going to Parliament and without going to the courts, to simply declare that a British dual national who committed an act of terror would lose his citizenship and they would lift his passport. And since 2007, I understand they've done that to 20 British citizens. So, I mean, yes, I think there's more to it than meets the eye here. I think Thomas Mulcair has a personal reason, perhaps, for being so adamant about this. The language he uses is really quite extreme for a relatively simple, straightforward bill that, as you have mentioned, 90% of the Canadians would fully support, and rightly so.
It's very strange. Ambassador, it's great to have you back on the show again. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today.